Hi, this is Ken Gidge, and this is Gidge World, and this is also election 2011. Some of you who live in the city of Nashua probably have seen signs everywhere. And what we're trying to do is elect candidates. All the aldermen are up for election. 3 aldermen at large out of 6. There's 6 running. We have to vote for 3. Fred Teeboom is running for Alderman at Large. He's been Alderman at Large twice before. Is that correct?
Twice.
All right. Now, why would they vote for you?
Well, first of all, I am the author and the architect of the spending cap, which is now law in the state of New Hampshire. And the spending cap has saved the taxpayers in Nashua thousands upon thousands of dollars. Spending cap is my hallmark legislation. I'm fiscally conservative, I'm socially moderate, I'm experienced, I get into the details of legislation, I look at all the financial details, I don't take anybody else's word for things, I look out for the taxpayer. Spending cap proves that I'm here to look out for the taxpayers.
Okay, that's your strong suit would be the spending cap.
That's
what other subjects do you have that are absolutely necessary for you to get across to the voters?
Well, show my commitment. The studio as an example. I had a lot to do with getting the studio built. I had a lot to do with getting public television.
Would you like to give someone else a compliment for that also?
John Barker, city manager. That's it.
Excuse me?
Who are you talking
I
about?
believe that it was you and I and Barbara Presley who stopped them from signing Comcast, contract with Comcast, so we could get another station.
Barbara Presley had nothing to do with any of this. I remember the altercation with Gordon Jackson when the chairman of the CTAB eliminated public television from the contract with Comcast. So for a long time, many years, there was no public television because only the government channel and the education channel were funded through the contract.
Nashua is been #1 for a lot of things, but being last is a first for us. And actually, communities all around the state of New Hampshire and the United States have public TV. This is really coming in late, but we're glad it's here.
And I had a lot to do with that, Mr. Gidge.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. And so you have a commitment to the community. Obviously, you are doing a TV show here also, is that correct?
I have my own TV show, and I can never remember the name, but it's Straight Talk with TNT. And we just taped our first show, and it'll show later this week, if I recall. And it'll show an interview with Jeff Daly, who has been kind of a thorn in the side of city government lately.
So that's good. That's a beginning. So you're going to you're going to be part of the government. Am I right or wrong to say that you also have an argument with the government?
I very often have an argument with the government. The spending cap was a complete argument with the government. The biggest argument with the government, the only person that took the city to court was I on the penny check purchase. When that vote came before the citizens in early 2003, I'm the only one that took the city to court on the question of what are you putting on the ballot. The city refused to put the pros and con argument on the ballot as they're required by our charter. And I lost on a technicality. But the fact of it is, in direct answer to your question, Mr. Gidge, yes, there are times that I've been opposed to the city. There are times that I have voted for things not necessarily in the interest of my main constituents. I voted and supported and actually pulled out of nothingness back the Brossy Parkway, because I think the Brossy Parkway is extremely beneficial to the future of the city. Many of my conservative supporters berated me on that, but I think I'll prove in the future, as the project goes forward, that I am correct.
Well, the Parkway and Pennachuck are two subjects I'd like to talk to you about. The Parkway, I believe it's now just 2 lanes instead of 4 lanes coming into Nashua?
It is 2 lanes instead of 4 lanes, except on the bridge, the big bridge, where it has a turning lane. So there will be 3 lanes.
Is this the same as it was before? Is it the same design as it was before, or has that been changed?
No, that's of course totally been changed. Before they had a 4-lane superhighway starting in Broad Street, ending in the 3 streets, cars going, I don't know, 50 miles an hour, thereabouts. It was a disaster.
So it's going to start out with just 2 lanes.
Now it's 2 lanes. It begins with 2 lanes. It ends with 2 lanes.
Where does it start?
It starts on Broad Street, next to where the Dairy Queen is now.
Okay.
It ends near Palm and Pine as you enter the
Where does
mill
it
yard.
cross the river, though?
It crosses the river near where the Baldwin Bridge is. It's running parallel to the railroad tracks. But it'll be an elevated area where the bridge is.
Okay, well, I guess I'm kind of missing a point. Are you saying it's coming down from Broad Street, and it's coming down from the Dairy Queen, and it's going how far down toward the bridge?
The bridge is, I've never measured.
You're talking about the Main Street Bridge, the bridge right on...
the Baldwin Bridge. It'll be in that area, and but it'll cross over the river, and then it'll come down for Palm and Pine.
And when it crosses the river, where is it going to land first?
Actually, there's going to be a entrance directly into the mill yard off the Parkway. And there'll also be an exit off Font Street.
Will it be exits and entrances, or just entrances?
No, the mill yard will be an entrance and an exit.
Okay, and
Palm
the
and
3
Pine
streets?
each will be one way, and that's how you get into the Parkway or out of the Parkway to Kinsley or to Hollis.
So a lot of people are against that because it's tearing up a lot of, let's say, housing, people who've lived there for years. Do you sympathize with them, or have they, a majority of them have been purchased, their homes have been purchased?
It's already been purchased, but this is one thing that I think people don't understand. This is where I am diametrically opposed to Doncic. Doncic wants to bring in more cops. He wants more overtime, more cops, more police, more fire. I'm saying modernize the neighborhood, modernize the 3 streets, modernize the mill yard, modernize French Hill. They don't need as many cops. The cops are overly concentrated in the French Hill and 3 streets. If you'll ever get a tour, the police department will tell you the major effort on those streets because they have problems.
Are you
the
saying
streets are compact. The development will eliminate crime.
All right, are you saying with your way of modernizing 3 streets and, let's say, French Hill, you will need less police officers, or are you saying less police officers, period?
Less police officers, period. Not as much overtime and not as many police officers. It'll be a more... I am looking to modernize the city. I've always been involved in modernizing the city. Bossy Parkway is a way not only to create jobs, but to modernize the city. The Renaissance Project is a great initiative to modernize the area around Bridge Street, Canal Street.
Are you for or against unions?
You mean the which unions? Police unions, the fire unions, and the teachers unions?
Any unions?
I am generally not in favor, and I'm not being supported by the unions. I have looked at some of the contracts are okay. Most of the contracts are basically not okay.
Okay, so you'd like, when you get in there, you're going to try to change them, or?
No, if you're elected as an alderman, you get the contracts before you.
Yeah, you're an alderman at large, so you have. What's the difference between an alderman and an alderman at large? What's responsibility?
That's a good question, Kenny. There used to be a time when only aldermen at large could be chairman of committees. But yeah, they stopped that a long time ago. So now the only difference, frankly, is that the alderman at large can be a president of the board, an alderman cannot. And the other one is you get elected for 4 years instead of 2.
That's it.
That's it.
Penachuk, for it, against it?
I was very much against it because of the eminent domain issue. Since the stock purchase, as you know, I'm an intervener. That's another question I should have raised about. I'm involved even though I'm not an elected official at this point. I'm an intervener. I'm at the table. I have to sign off on the document. At this point in time, it's a stock purchase. I have a lot of problems with it, but the way it's going now, I think, with the settlement discussion this week, by the way, starting the settlement discussion, I think it's going in the right direction, but there's a lot of problems with it, a lot of problems.
So at this point, are you for or are you against?
I'm sort of, I have to see the way the settlement goes.
Is it a done deal?
No, it's not
basically?
a done deal. It's absolutely not a done deal. The Office of Community Affairs, which is an important component of the PUC,
And
has at this point not announced being in favor.
are you against them building housing on the, I believe that's 300 acres or 35 acres, 85 acres, I believe, next to the Pennachuck?
That is a shameful episode in all of this. When people got out to vote and wanted the city to buy Pennachuck, pursue buying Pennachuck, they were, as I was, very upset about developments going on. When Southwood transferred, the Pennachuck transferred to Southwood about 2,000 acres at a cost
Southwood
of
is a real estate agency.
39, yeah, they created Southwood especially for this purpose. $39 an acre. And they sold this at an average of $20,000 an acre. Enormous windfall profits. They just started back in '84. And by the time Mayor Streeter started running, it was evident what used to be conservation areas, the fences were coming down, developments going up. I called it, their condos, our chicken bones, okay? Serious problems. So there's overreaction. I think the Streeter administration overreacted by wanting to buy Pennachuck Corporation.
Are you saying that that by building this housing, it's going to hurt in any way the water?
The 32
Pennachuck water?
acres, I interviewed Jeff Daly on my show, that's the show this week, hopefully. We discussed that. He feels strongly that there is water runoff that will run into the ponds, into the supply ponds, and then ultimately into the pond, Harris Pond, that feed the filtration plant.
Are you saying that there is absolutely no way to stop that, or is that an inevitable?
Nothing is always, there's no such thing as never. The planning board okayed it, and I think there was a serious procedure with the planning board, serious problems, the way that went down. But they okayed it. That was the last step. The developer can now develop and put a heavy density of condos in. The mayor is negotiating, because the funny thing about this whole thing is, the real problem is that for the $2.2 million they're paying for this development, where do you think that $2.2 million is going to go? That $2.2 million comes right back to Nashua when they acquire Pennachuck. So this, in a way, is a scam. However, the $2.2 million, I talked to Olivier, the chief counsel of Pennachuck, about that. He says, we'd budgeted that $2.2 million. So Mayor Lozo, recognizing this and recognizing a problem, and she's pretty good at this and pretty good at solving problems, has told me in confidence that, and I can't tell the details.
Well, in confidence, you really.
Told me in confidence that she's negotiating this thing.
Okay.
That's all I can tell you.
Downtown, big changes taking place downtown, parking meters.
I'm against this whole park. This is this other McCarthy thing. McCarthy's thing is, that's what happens in office too long. He's been there since 1993. Parking downtown and paying for parking downtown makes no sense. They're collecting $600,000 in parking meters thus far. And that's a lot of parking collection, and the parking is pretty expensive, as I see it. I try not to park and shop in downtown because I don't like to pay parking. You go to the malls, you don't pay parking.
Well, so hold on a second, Mr. Alderman Lodge,
yes.
To be elected. Are you saying you don't shop downtown because there is no parking?
I used to go to some of the restaurants that got kind of pricey. Parking is a detriment. I don't like to pay for parking. Then you worry about, am I feeding a meter? You're not allowed to feed a meter. Do I have to move my car? Where am I going to move my car? It's a constant problem. Why the headache? Go shop in Nashua Mall, shop in the Pheasant Lane Mall. You have to worry about this stuff. And now they're going to raise it. No, my answer is you're collecting $600,000 in parking fees today. Put all that money into downtown. Right now, the $600,000 goes into the big budget, what I call a black hole. Take the $600,000, special revenue account, spend it down. In fact, if I get elected, my first resolution will be to take the $600,000 and dedicate it to downtown exclusively.
Question, parking, we parallel park, how about changing our parking so we drive into our place instead of we come in as an angle?
Well, that may be kind of tough because the Main Street is not very wide, and we got these nice sidewalks, and if you're parking headway, you have to back up. And I can see those are going to be problems.
What I've seen, tell me if I'm wrong, they're changing or want to change the downtown quite a bit. I believe they want to extend the sidewalks. Don't you think parking the opposite way as pulling in, we could get more people downtown? You get obviously more parking. You get about a place and a half for every parallel parker.
You want to park head in?
Yes.
Yes, but it's dangerous. It's nice going in. It's difficult getting out, especially in the wintertime. So no, I don't think that's enough. The answer is don't change the parking fees. Take the $600,000 or $700,000 get now, dedicate it to downtown, and that's it. That solves the problem.
Taxing the downtown merchants.
Forget it. Forget it. What's this business?
Explain what that is.
There's this bid, this business, and there's some kind of a special region set up in downtown that you can tax special. So now they're going to tax the downtown merchants over and above what they tax as the rest of the citizens in the city of Nashua. It's ridiculous. These merchants shouldn't be taxed separately. There's plenty of money around. Like I said, $600,000, give them some more money. I'm totally against taxing downtown merchants.
Well, I am a state representative, as you know, and I can tell you the Republicans up there are cutting so many things to balance the state budget.
Yes.
But the problem is pushing everything back here to Nashua.
Right.
You can see that. Can you see in the future where taxes might need to be raised? Meaning, I'm talking about...
stay within the spending cap. Stay below the spending cap. Look, the answer on that, Mr. Gidge, of the Democrats and the madness of the spending in Concord and the $900 million in the hole, if you don't spend it, you don't have to tax it.
Mr. Teeboom, with what we have right now coming into the city, things are tough. Schools, teachers, etc. Police, let go, firemen, etc. If the state pushes back to us a great deal of what they're doing, and it's happening because I'm up there and I'm seeing it voted in. And it comes back to the town of, city of Nashua. Can you live with a spending cap then?
What is coming down? Give me some, be specific, Mr. Gidge, because I can't deal with generalities.
All right, I'll give you one. 5 social workers they have fired, they fired 5 social, let me explain it to you. We're in Hillsborough County. We only have 5.5 social workers for the Hillsborough County. They take the worst of the worst people. $441,000. They fired them, so we have no social workers. So that means cities such as Nashua is going to have to pick up that type of bill. How do you still think they can live under the spending cap?
Volunteerism.
Volunteerism.
Absolutely. You know what that word means?
So in other words, if someone calls up and says there's a child in distress or a wife or a husband in distress, social workers aren't necessary, needed?
I don't want I want the police there and I want the firemen there.
You don't want the police or the firemen
I do want them there. I'm not sure what the social worker doing as a child is in distress. Explain that to me.
Take the child out of the home.
The police cannot take the child out of the home?
Well, they do, but they call the social workers. And if we do not have social workers...
Yeah, what happens?
Well...
It's
getting
complicated. All these things happen.
You wanted an example, and I gave you an example of what's coming down. What is coming down to the city? And you're still saying that we can live under the spending cap.
I can certainly live with 5 social workers less in the city. We got a $250 million budget,
but aren't we in kind of in a horrible time in our history where things like social workers are kind of necessary?
Mr. Gidge, we have a $250 million budget, and your big example of how we're going to be in trouble is 4 social workers. That's the best you can do.
No, that's not the best
Well,
I
give
can
me a-
do.
give me a good example that counts.
We only have about 2 minutes left.
Give me an example that
No,
counts.
let's move on.
All right.
We may do this again anyway. I'm going to try to interview everyone twice, and I would like to get the people who are running against you or with you all to come in, sit around a table. Not a debate, just a discussion. Now, why? Tell our watchers and listeners. Tell them exactly why they should vote for you. Everything that you've said right now makes sense to you, should make sense to them.
Very simple. If you don't spend it, you don't have to tax it.
If you don't spend it, you don't have to what?
Tax it.
Okay.
And I gave all the reasons before. You don't have to go through this list again. Use your last 2 minutes wisely, Mr. Gidge. Ask me a question that we haven't already answered.
I've already asked you the last question, Mr. Teeboom.
Okay, next time we meet, give me a list of questions ahead of time so I can study it.
That's not how it works, Mr. Teeboom, when you interview people. You don't give them the questions.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you will have a show and you will know that. Okay, this is Ken Gidge. This has been Gidge World, and welcome to it. And this is election 211. Fred Teeboom running for Alderman at Large, and there are 6 people running. You are one of, there's only 3 spaces needed. You're one of the potential.
I expect to take 1 of the 3 spaces.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And you keep watching us because we're going to have all the candidates. And hopefully we'll get all the candidates who are running against each other to sit down at this table. And believe me, it will not be an argument. It'll be a conversation. I think more conversation should take place. I think this has kind of been a conversation. Would you say so?
Well, I think you need to be better prepared
Yes.
with all these problems that you see.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. This has been Ken Gidge. This has been Gidge World.